Hi, this is Jeff Nimoy, the voice of Nicholas D. Wolfwood from Trigun, and you're listening to Nerd On, Needle Noggins.
Nerd On.
What is going on, everybody? Welcome to Nerd On, the podcast you didn't need, but you deserve, and where all levels of nerd are welcome. And today is a very special episode because we have a first with our first. Mm-hmm. We have...
Unprecedented.
You like that?
Yeah.
We have a returning guest.
Returning champion.
Our first returning guest.
Returning champion, Jeff Nimoy.
Hey, guys.
Oh, it's so exciting to have Jeff back on the show, our very first guest. Mm-hmm. And everybody at home, you're going to know his work from, we've got Emmy-winning NFL sports. We've got directing, writing, voicing characters and from episodes of Digimon, Zatch Bell, Mega Man NT Warrior, the new Ultraman series on Netflix, which is just out a couple of weeks ago.
Hot off the presses.
Hot off the presses. And we're talking about something special today because Jeff did something pretty insane.
Pretty fucking cool. That's what you're trying to say.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to say.
Cool.
Pretty fucking
Insanely
cool. He wrote, directed, produced, starred in his very own movie, Famish.
Live action movie.
Live action film.
Yeah.
And
Feature film.
Right.
Yeah. He did do his own voice in it as well.
Yeah.
Nice part.
Wow.
That wasn't dubbed?
No.
Again, I don't want people to think it's an anime or a dub thing. It's real people on stage.
Real people,
on
real
camera.
cameras.
Yeah.
Physical performance. Real convention.
Live action film.
So, before we get into the meat and potatoes, I am Josh.
I'm Corey.
Ali.
Caitlin.
And I'm Tom.
And this episode is brought to you in part by our patrons over at Patreon.
Patreon.
If you are new to Patreon, Patreon is essentially a membership service in which you can support your favorite creators like, Nerd On.
Us.
And when you support us, you get goodies like bonus episodes and the Discord server so you can talk directly to us and other fans. You get early access to merch. You get all sorts of stuff if you're getting my drift.
Goodies.
And if you are new to that, you can check it out, nerdon.io/Patreon.
Yay.
For as little as $1 a month, you can support
It's a
us.
fifth a cup of coffee.
Yeah, and keep the lights on.
A 10th a movie ticket.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There you go. Depending on where you go.
Yeah.
50.
Or like
Say like
1/26th of a movie ticket.
Yeah.
We're
You
not
go to
buying
IMAX.
But yes, let's
So-
get into it.
Yeah, let's get into it.
Here we
Jeff,
are.
thanks for coming out and being on the show.
Oh, it's my pleasure. I made this movie and I was sending it out to a few people just for some notes. There are different versions of when you're making a movie, you just need some other feedback. You get a little too close to it.
Oh, yeah.
And at one point
Definitely.
it was, I think, 114 minutes. It's now final at 94 minutes, 91 if you don't like credits. And at 114, I sent it out to about 25 people, do a little market research. And having been on Nerd On before, knowing you guys are fans of this sort of theme, I should mention that the movie is a romantic comedy that takes place at an anime convention, and it surrounds the celebrity of being an anime voice actor. Anyway, so one of the market research people I picked was Josh, and I sent it to him. And a year before, I asked Josh's wife, who I'm very good friends with, Bonnie, I said, I'm going to ask Josh to mix this movie when it's over. And she said, don't do it.
Oh, no.
Do not do it. He's sick of working for free. He's not going to do it anymore. He's finally
Way to
making
go,
money
Bonnie.
working. He's not going to do it anymore. He's got a good career now. And I didn't ask. I just sent it, as one of the people to watch. And within 15 minutes of me sending it out, I get a phone call on my voice. On my phone says Josh. And I said, hello. He goes, I see you don't have a mixer yet for this. I've got to mix this movie.
Yep.
And I was like, I got my guy without even asking.
There you
I
go.
got my number one choice.
Let the product speak for
Two
itself.
celebrities on the show today.
Yeah.
No, he was in the cast and crew seating where all us peasants had to sit in the back.
I had reserved seating.
And you got to go up and stay. That was a big deal.
We're talking about a screening we had back in
Last
all
month?
the way back in March.
Yeah, all the way back. That was
Private,
surreal.
So long
public,
ago.
for
At
everyone.
the end, yes, it was
Private.
private screening, so that I'm still eligible for all
Yes.
Very
film
surreal.
festivals.
Yeah,
Yes.
Very,
Thank you.
very
Be
surreal to
very
see something
specific
like
about
that.
We just watched the film
Yes.
at another private screening.
Very exclusive.
Love the film.
Yeah, man.
I think it has a lot of heart. I think everyone, once it's available out publicly for everyone to watch, go watch it.
The
It's
soundtrack is
great.
bumping.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Soundtrack's great.
What was your inspiration to make the said film?
Yeah.
Famous.
Okay, so well, first of all, I'm not really famous. I'm famous here in this room, but most of the places I'm not really famous in Hollywood.
Did
I'm
you like the Spielberg?
sort
anime?
of famish, yeah, the Spielberg of anime, at least the Ed Wood.
Or the Scorsese.
I love that line, by the way.
So I wanted to make a movie forever. I came to Hollywood to be like a Woody Allen without sleeping with my daughter. Sort of thing.
Minor
always a
detail.
good call.
Other than that,
Shout
I
out.
wanted to be
Smart
Woody Allen.
move.
Albert Brooks, Woody Allen. Albert Brooks hasn't had sex with anyone underage, has he? We'll pick him. So, I wanted to be, that's the guy I wanted to be when I came out here, and it just never happened. And you're constantly asking for permission for, can I have money to make this? Can you hire me as a director? Can you, whatever. It's just permission. And then I got very sick. I got a brain tumor. And it was benign, but it had to come out. And it did. And they got it all. And I'm here. I'm alive.
Good spirits.
Hell yeah.
Thanks. And I have a new lease on life. And, I don't recommend a brain tumor.
No.
Ask
I
your
would
doctor
say
if a
not.
brain tumor is right for you.
Let me write that down.
No, I don't recommend getting a brain tumor, but if you do
Does not
survive one,
recommend.
it does change your whole outlook on life. It really does. And you're just like, you don't wait anymore. It's like, what am I waiting for? At the time I was 51. And I was like, I'm not waiting anymore for anything, whatever I want, whatever it is, especially the number one thing on my bucket list, which was to direct a live action movie. I've directed voices in movies, like Digimon, the movie. I directed
have it
the
with me
voices.
today.
Yeah. But I never got to direct that live action feature that I've always wanted to do. So I over the years, I've written small budget movies for me to direct, but again, asking for permission. I could never get the funding. No one goes into show business because you love looking for funding, you know?
Yep.
You
Not quite.
Right. So I just got tired of asking. So I thought, I'm just going to make a movie for free, for absolutely free. And what assets do I have available to me? Well, I've got this big, enormous career in anime where people fly me out to their conventions and put me up in hotels. And I just thought if I cast other famous voice actors, and they'll take them and put them in a hotel too and fly them out, and we can film most of it at the convention itself. And that's kind of what I did. And I had no money. I just told people, look, man, I have no money. I don't know if this will be any good. And I don't know if people will even see this movie, but I just have to make it. And I'm sick of asking for permission. And if you're tired of asking for permission, join me. And so many people did.
Yeah.
And I had to write a check now and then to cover some expenses, but it really, it was
In the
minimal.
grand scheme of things.
In the grand scheme
Oh,
of
yeah.
things,
Yeah.
it was almost a no budget movie.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's
Speaking
awesome.
speaking of filming at the conventions,
Yeah.
which is kind of a very unique way of doing things. What were some of the fun parts of it? Some of the struggles with that kind of thing?
Yeah, well, it's interesting. It was a 12-day shoot altogether, and for the first
wow.
the first 6 days were scattered through from January till June, with anything that wasn't concentric. We filmed here in LA, like all the interior hotel rooms. We filmed in LA in a
Okay.
hotel room in Woodland Hills, and my apartment, obviously, my friend's house that plays my sister and brother-in-law and my nephews and nieces. We filmed at their house, things like that. Everything else was filmed in Madison, Wisconsin, either at GeekCon or at the airport, which also let us film for free.
Which is
That's
crazy.
amazing.
Wow.
to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, if I had
wow.
to do this in LA, just the permits
Oh my
and,
Oh my
God.
god, yeah.
and the
Yeah.
insurance alone, I didn't even need a permit there. I just made a phone call. One guy said, "Yeah, here's my number if anyone gives you any problems."
dream.
Wow.
Oh my
And
goodness.
like we had TSA agents as extras, it was crazy.
Wow.
It was just insane. At one point, I just kept telling people, if anyone comes up, let me do all the talking. And sure enough, we show up with the crew and equipment, and these 2 TSA agents are walking right towards us. And I'm like, let me do the talking. They come up to them and they go, "Hi," and they walk right by me into the bathroom.
Oh my God.
So I'm like,
Maintain. It's going to be fine.
yeah. And literally, the airport is like, take the whole southern terminal that's hardly used.
That's
I know.
phenomenal.
Wow.
That's insane.
So an interesting thing is we got there on a Monday night. Not everyone arrived together. There were 3 of us, 1 of us, and then 3 of us coming over the course of 3 days. We got there Monday, and it was a torrential downpour, and they closed the airport right after we landed.
Oh my God.
Wow.
And the roads washed out just as we got to our hotel. But the roads were washed out. It was the worst flood in Madison, Wisconsin history.
So that's good luck.
It was good
Yeah,
luck.
good luck.
And
We avoided it.
everyone was stranded. Even the guy who rented me the equipment, met me at the hotel, he was stranded. All the hotel workers were stranded. We were sleeping like 6 in a room that one night. The whole hotel. People were sleeping in the lobby, in sleeping bags.
Wow.
It was insane. So the next day, we're expecting our lead actress, Nikki Boyer, to come in on Tuesday, and we're filming Tuesday morning at the airport. And sure enough, it was a beautiful day, and they opened the roads, and then they opened the airport.
Something out of the Bible.
And everything worked. As we were driving, though, we saw like cars upside down that floated away.
So like the Bible.
Man.
Yeah, it was insane. So that was our first big thing. And
Yeah.
also I had like little production meeting Monday night and bought everyone dinner, and I made an announcement. I said, "Look, I know you guys know the convention knows we're filming, but the Marriott might not, know we're filming, and I
Right.
just don't want any sort of imperial interference." I didn't want anyone making a phone call to corporate and forget it. They'd shut us down in 2 seconds.
Yeah.
100%.
And so I said, everyone be on the sly. And again, let me do all the talking. If anyone asks, we're making a film for the convention. And the convention liaison said, no. They want us to film. They're dying for us to film. We told them about it, and they're
Wow.
getting killed by the downtown Madison convention centers, and they want you to pretty much make a commercial for the Marriott.
Oh, dope.
Wow.
And-
It's a nice trade.
And the GM came over to me the next day of the hotel, and he's like, "Anything you want." He's like, the hotel and the staff is at your disposal.
Wow.
So everything
And-
just kind of fell into
And
place.
it just fell into place, and we took over. Like, I used their staff as extras, and
Yeah.
we took over.
Yeah, you gotta.
You guys saw we took over the dining room area, the pool area, the elevator. We took over
Wow.
everything.
That's
Everything worked
crazy.
out.
Yeah, the back kitchen we even filmed
Yeah.
at, where people punched their
Yeah,
time
yeah.
clocks. Yeah.
That's crazy. That's the coolest thing. Like it literally like one thing after another. Like that Monday night must have been so kind of stressful because you're
Yeah.
like, is this going to happen or whatever?
Right.
But everything just kind of
Everything worked out.
like the roads, everything just kind of
Right.
opened back up.
It's like you're setting up a
Wow.
heist, and then obviously you kind of expect something to go wrong, but everything
Yeah.
just goes really well.
Well, you do all this planning. I took a year off to make this movie.
Wow.
Well, it was easy. I had no job. So, but I took a year off from looking for work, and I
Right.
made this my job. I just decided I'm going to live off of credit for a year. I don't care. And I took a year off, and I used all my 25 years experience as a producer, and I meticulously planned out everything to the minute, to the prop, to whatever. And because I was doing it all myself pretty much. So, the fact that it actually worked out, because we had to, not only did we have to film a movie in 12 days, 6 of those days we had to film 80 pages. So like normally like writing is a page a minute,
Yeah.
right? So it's a page a minute of dialogue, and filming, it could be like, if you're getting, 4 pages a day, 6 pages a day is a lot.
Yes.
Yeah.
We were getting what, 20 pages a day? Something like that. 10 to
That's
20
crazy.
pages.
Oh
10 to
my
20
God.
pages a
so
day.
highly efficient.
Yes. We filmed 80 pages in 71 hours. We figured it out of call times. of call to wrap, 71 hours.
There's no messing around. It's like we gotta
Yeah,
do
and we
this.
filmed with 2 cameras, so I would be able to get all the coverage. Otherwise, it was going to look like just a little stupid independent video. But I wanted it to look like a movie.
Yeah.
I hope it did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
Tell me.
yes.
definitely.
And
Yeah.
at the screening, you mentioned how sometimes like you just were going against a clock, so you had to just shoot it. And if you had it, you had it.
That's it.
Yeah.
The big ultra scene with myself and
Dancing.
the autistic kid,
yeah.
I'm not going to go into details
Yeah.
of what happens in the scene, but
Heartfelt.
we had that room till 2:00,
Oh.
and it was 1:30. And the DP said, "We forgot to film that scene." I said, "I didn't forget anything. I'm just like pacing." And I told that actor, who was a local hire, I told him, just hang around. Just when we need you, I don't know when we'll need you. His call time was like 10:30 in the morning. I said, "Whenever we need you, I just need you to be there. So I'm not looking for you." So 1:30, great. Where's Joe? We can't find Joe. So it took us 15 minutes to set up.
Oh.
And then we found Joe, and that was it. We had 15 minutes, and we got that in one take.
One take.
Wow.
That's it. That was
Wow.
yeah. And it's one of the climactic scenes of the movie.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
One take Joe.
Take Joe.
He's gonna take that with him.
Yeah, right.
And for a year, I was I can give away that I cry in that scene. I don't think it's a big giveaway.
No.
Yeah.
But I'm crying in that scene, and for a year I'm worried about, like, am I going to be able to cry when it go action? And I'm like writing down anything that makes me cry for a year. I'm writing it down on a list. I'm like in my phone. I'm like, okay, saying goodbye to my grandfather when I left New York. All right, things like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That Hallmark commercial I saw. All things
The
like
one with
that.
Sarah McLaughlin and the
Yeah,
puppies.
right,
So one Adele
right,
song.
things like that. And I went action, and the guy started talking. I burst into tears. And I'm like, this is not going to be a problem at all. I didn't.
Yeah.
Have to. I was just in the moment. I was in the scene.
Little adrenaline.
It
kicking
worked.
in.
Yeah, it all worked.
That's awesome. That's super
Holy
cool.
crap.
It was great. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah, it was the movie was, I mean, what like you said, like you mentioned it, you sent me the movie and I watched 15 minutes of it, and it was I had to, like, the movie was so good.
Thanks, man.
Like, just even the first few minutes, I don't know if anybody in the room has seen something where you're
I
like,
haven't seen the
have
movie.
to be I have to be a part of this project.
Involved.
I have to be
Yeah.
involved, whether I'm doing this or whether I'm doing that. Like, I have to be involved. And
Let's nerd on.
yeah, yeah.
Here I am.
Nice, nice. But yeah, what was maybe of the whole process the hardest processes, or the hardest step of it all? Was it the writing? Was it the
The writing was hard, obviously, but this is my 14th screenplay, so I'm fairly proficient at it at this point. So the writing wasn't that difficult. The hardest thing was just herding cats. You're there, and you've got 100 moving parts, and you're the only one who knows where they all go.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And you're just you have everyone's working for free, so you can't really yell at anyone.
yeah?
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, you
Even
have
if
to
you want
sort of
to.
use a velvet hammer, and you've just gotta convince them that this is important to them as it is to me,
Yeah.
which is not easy to do. And I've always felt that way, though, in all of working. Whenever I'm doing a TV show and all these people show up, and I'm like, wow, they're all showed up, but I'm the only one who could really benefit from this movie. Like, no one's, even if a movie wins an Academy Award that a grip worked on, it's not gonna, that grip isn't going to, it's not gonna help their career much,
Yeah.
but I'm going to reap the benefit,
Right.
So,
Yeah.
so something like this, I've just always felt that if you just outwork everyone and you show them how hard you're working, they will match your effort, or at least in their way, try to match your effort.
Lead by example.
And on this movie, right, lead by example. But on this movie in particular, I mean, I was everything. I was the prop man. I was the art director. I was the set designer, the set decorator.
Wow.
I was the costumer. I was the prop handler,
No
everything.
job, no big, too small.
Right. So I'm walking around with this suitcase full of props down there. And at one point, someone just said, "Do you need a hand?" I was like, yes, I do. I need a
Funny
lot
you
of
should
hands,
ask.
Right. And I was losing my voice.
Oh,
So
no.
So, the DP was very good about, telling everyone, Jeff needs to talk to you. Shut up, and,
Yeah.
and things like that. And people help.
Some
but,
people in your corner.
Yeah, and of course, when you travel, you start getting sick a little bit, and if the only person who couldn't afford to get sick on this movie was me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And but people were going to the drugstores for me and getting all kinds of elixirs for me,
There
magic
you go.
elixirs,
Well,
and helping me out.
speaking of that, I mean, you said you did this at an anime convention or a couple anime conventions.
Yeah.
There must have been some people that actually recognize you in real life.
Yeah.
Like walking around casually with a
Yeah.
camera crew.
Well,
Did anybody like interrupt you during
well, the
scenes?
reason I got so many extras in this movie, and if I had to pay for 2,000 cosplaying
Oh
extras,
my
Yeah,
it
right.
would cost a fortune.
Right.
So this was all free.
Yeah.
Because they all recognized me, they were like, "I want to be in the movie. I want to be in the movie," and we had no shortage of extras.
Yeah.
Which
So they
is
just
great.
ended up being in the movie.
It was great.
That's
and,
awesome.
I wrote in certain direction into the script, and I didn't even have to give it to them because I guess the script was written in a certain way that they automatically did the "aww,"
Yeah.
the laughter. So I write, they laugh at this. So on the first take, every time I just said, "Guys, you're at an anime convention. Just be yourselves. You're at an anime convention. You're at a panel or you're on an autograph line. Be entertained by whatever you see, whatever you hear. Just go with it. Act as you would." And they hit every nuanced,
Awesome.
ooh, and, Brian and I are fighting and
Yeah.
all that. I should say Brian Donovan, who's I directed many times in Digimon. He played Davis in Digimon
Yeah.
season 2 in the movie. He plays the my antagonist, I guess, and he's the nicest guy in the world. And I cast him as a
So
bad guy.
nice.
He kills it though. Like
Yeah,
he does.
yeah.
He
Really
commits
good.
110%,
Yeah.
which is nice.
It's really good at being a jerk.
Yeah. I mean, everyone in this film was really
Everybody's
great.
great, yeah.
Are they all friends of yours or people you've worked with in the past or?
Well, Brian, of course, I've worked with Lex Lang as Lex Lang. I've worked with him a million
Great.
times. He's one of my favorites, one of my closer friends.
He did a lot of the music too.
Lex did a lot of the scoring, and he had some songs, and there are 21 songs in the movie. He has like 5 of the songs.
Wow.
Too.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah. Nikki Boyer, who plays the female lead, I directed her. She did the voice for Sunday Fun Day on ABC Family promos, and I directed her in that. But we're with the same voice agency, so I've known her through that. Allison Powell, who plays my handler, who steals the movie, she was doing a staged reading of a screenplay she wrote that a friend of mine was directing, and I went to see to give notes, and I was just like, wow, that girl she was wearing like a Star Wars nerd t-shirt.
That's her.
Yeah, and I was like, that's her. That's my handler right there. And Jonathan Fahn, who plays the con chairman, he's one of my closest friends too. He's also done a lot of anime
Yeah.
voices.
Well, you guys have a lot of great chemistry together, so it's pretty
Me and
clear
Nikki,
that
you mean?
Well, all of you guys.
Oh,
Yeah.
and
Everyone.
Margot Graff,
This is a fun
who
story.
Yeah.
plays the
This is-
cosplaying fan
Oh,
who's
yeah.
got a crush on me. She, of all people, she was my Uber driver.
No way.
I called Uber, and I had like a bunch of food I had cooked. I was taking to a party, and she was like, "Oh my God, what is all that stuff I cooked too? What is it?" And I was talking to her. I couldn't see her face. I could just see her eyes in the rearview mirror. And we were just talking about everything, and she had a good voice. And I said, where are you from? Blah, blah, blah. I asked the story. She's like, I'm here 3 months from Minnesota and came here to be an actress. And I said, you've got a good voice. You should look into voiceover too. She said, it's funny you should say that. I've only got one connection in all of LA, and he's in voiceover. I was like, who is it? It was my agent.
Oh my God. Wow.
small world.
And I said, where do you live? And she lived in Studio City at the time where I live. And I said, this is too weird. This is just too weird a coincidence. Let's have
Serendipity.
coffee. Yeah, let's have coffee. I'll take you out for a cup of coffee. And we went out for a cup of coffee in the neighborhood. Not that day, another day.
Yeah.
And as I'm talking to her, I'm like, I was also having a hard time casting this because I'll get into that in a second because that's a whole discussion.
Yeah.
But I was having a lot of trouble casting it, and I'm like, why not? She's she's great. I'm talking to her, and I just knew she'd be able to play it.
Mhm.
And so that was the greatest
You
casting.
crazy
of them all.
fangirl,
And
you're like, you're it.
yeah, and
Yeah.
she's just a right amount of crazy
Yeah.
in real
Yeah.
life
Oh, there you go.
to make these great choices, acting choices, like smelling
Oh,
Mickey.
oh, so comfortable.
She makes these
Too
great
good.
acting choices, but she's not crazy enough where you can't
You can't
direct
work
her.
with her.
You know,
Right.
and she,
Right.
you know, she's really professional and really great. But I was having a lot of trouble casting this, and I think you can understand why when I tell you this. The first draft, I sent it out to a bunch of voice actors, famous voice actors,
Mhm.
and they all turned me down. And not only did they turn me down, they warned me, don't do this. You will
Wow.
never get invited to another anime convention. You're making fun of the fans. The fans won't understand that this isn't you. They'll think it's you because I'm playing a character named
Yeah.
Jeff Nimoy, like Larry
Fictionalized.
David in Curb Your Enthusiasm, or
Right.
NPH and
Yeah.
Harold
Neil Patrick
Kumar.
Harris and Harold Kumar. Yeah.
Exactly,
Exactly.
yeah.
episodes with
Yeah.
yeah,
Ricky Gervais and stuff. Or
no,
LeBlanc.
Matt LeBlanc, right, which I love.
Yeah.
So they were like, the fans won't get it because, you know, a good portion of our fans are on the spectrum or, you know, they're autistic, Asperger's, what have you. And they were like, don't do this movie, Jeff. I'm telling you, you'll never
Wow.
get invited. You're making fun of them too much. So I took their notes to heart and I rewrote a bunch of scenes when the fans were involved.
Mhm.
And I sent it out to a new bunch of actors and they all turned it down.
Wow.
Wow.
So finally, I just went to some fans themselves and I had them read it. Like fans I've stayed in touch with over the years, that
Yeah.
for whatever reason I've been in contact with. And they were like, this is the greatest script of all time. I love this.
There you
No
go.
one makes movies about us when it's about us. This is great.
Yeah.
And I had no, like, you know, voice actors, to them, it's a business and they don't want to, you know,
Cross
maybe-
any line.
play
Right.
careful. Play
yeah, they're
careful.
being careful.
Jeopardize their careers. Yeah.
Right.
course, yeah.
But I think the ironic thing is this is probably going to be the biggest event at any convention for the next 20 years, I think. This movie's going to play at anime conventions
Nice.
forever.
That's dope.
And it's going to, you know, draw in people and it's going to be a huge draw. And all those people, I think, are really going to be upset
Well,
they
and they
didn't
got
do this
and they
movie.
got to be a part of it. The fans, I mean, which is really cool.
Right.
There's
GeekCon in Madison was the place
Yeah.
we filmed.
uh,
We also filmed in Anime LA, which is in Ontario, California.
Oh, oh.
We shot a lot of that B-roll,
Oh,
any
nice.
of the outside stuff and that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
there is someone in the room that loved the Digimon movie. And there is well, the
Subtle.
funny thing is because like I think there's a lot of an analysis around your direction as well as the localization, but then your music choice
Yeah.
in the Digimon movie is something that has resonated with me
Uh-huh.
for like ever since I grew up, and
Yeah,
it's
that was a
kind
good
of
soundtrack.
it's shaped the way that I look at music. And then this movie has the same vibe, the same kind of
yeah.
like, but it's I just got to ask almost at a personal level, where do you find these songs and where do you find these artists? I
Well, the
was just like,
Digimon movie was all hit songs.
Yeah.
That was Ron Kanan, who was in charge of the music department. And
Okay.
He was able to license all that music. Of course, I thought they'd be playing underneath my dialogue in the movie, and then I show up and like some of the dialogue is gone, and
Oh.
they're playing, you know, like
Koromon's around, yeah.
yeah.
He knows.
I
He
know.
knows.
That's okay. And this was 11 of the 21 songs are from a band called The Red Button.
Yeah.
And I have jammed with one of the two members of The Red Button before. And so he introduced me to his partner, and they licensed me their whole album called She's About to Cross My Mind. It's one of my favorite albums. I wrote those songs actually into the movie.
Wow.
And I was playing it over and over again while writing the movie. I was completely inspired
Getting
by
the
this
vibe,
album. Right. And, you know, I just could not make this movie without those 11 songs. Everything else sort of fell into place after that. But, and Lex was in the movie, and I know Lex for a long time, and I've known Lex's music for a long time, especially that song at the end, Bump That Body. You know, where we're dancing at the rave and everything. And
Well, it was
Mary
his.
Elizabeth
Nice.
McGlynn sings on that song as well. You know,
Nice.
like and she's great. But she doesn't even know she's in the movie.
Now she does.
but it's just another layer of anime star on top of it, everything, which is a nice
Easter
little
egg.
Easter egg. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Anyway, so Lex's music I just asked Lex, let me listen to your entire catalog.
Lexicon.
Yeah,
Hey-o.
and just whatever sung to me, whatever touched me, I picked. And then I have a buddy, Greg Roth, who I went to NYU with, and I visited him in Atlanta when I was at Dragon Con, and he's got a whole catalog of music, and he's got one of my favorite songs that ever called Unhappy Hour, which I play in the bar scene where I
Yep.
go
There you
on-
go.
start the drinking rampage. And so that's one of my favorite songs. And then I just took his catalog and I picked 5 songs from that. And that's the 21 songs right there.
That's awesome.
Nice.
That's awesome. The soundtrack was like killer. I just wrote down all the specific ones you named to check out later because I was like,
the red
hold
button
on.
especially is really,
Yeah, I
mean,
got that on.
it-
I want to make sure.
but they're very Beatlesque,
Yeah.
And that's why I wanted this to have that pop, like not early Beatles, but not late Beatles either. That just sort of like
Metal Beatles.
Revolver and earlier.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just
kind of a Brit rock kind of.
yeah, nothing past like Sgt. Pepper's,
Yeah.
but just that really pop because it's such a pop culture movie, that I wanted that feel and I just wanted that real vibe going, and I think I achieved it.
Yeah,
You did, yeah.
You have a very alive feeling, so it's kind of like it just gets you in a mood, and it's like a very positive kind of feeling. So
Yeah.
like even in the sad parts, you're kind of like, cool, I'm ready for the next part.
Yeah. I was tapping my foot quite a bit throughout this whole thing.
I mean, even going back to the filming process, you guys were even doing panels yourselves, like even outside of film. So like,
Yes.
you were juggling, so it adds
Right. So
it adds even more to
in
the.
exchange for flying us out to the convention and letting us film there, we actually had to attend the convention
Oh,
as
boy.
guests.
Trade.
So that's why I said we only had that room till 2:00 because at 2:00 we were starting our panels, and we were doing panels from 2 to 9 that Saturday,
Whoa.
and the opening ceremonies, of course, and we filmed right after the opening ceremonies. That opening ceremony scene, everyone came to the opening ceremonies and they introduced me and I said, "Hey everybody, we're going to make a movie and we're going to start right now. You're in it."
There you go.
Wow.
Awesome.
So we did all that,
shit.
and I had them practice some of their, reactions right then and there.
That's awesome.
I used to warm up TV shows, so I sort of did
Oh,
a
there you
little
go.
bit
There
of
you go.
that,
You got those
saying to
skills.
them, getting them ready.
Getting him
Yeah.
comfortable.
I was just actually going to ask because you've directed a lot of anime and
Yeah.
voice performances, and I was going to ask like what is the difference between that and then this kind of experience? But looking back, hearing that, and also seeing the image that was online that you were directing a bunch of the background and extra, I was like,
Yeah.
I was like, man, that's like a second AD, a first AD.
Yeah.
I was like,
Yes.
but again, a lot of it falls on
Right.
you. You got to be this one man band.
Yeah. I wore many, many, many hats. Yeah. I was the caterer.
Oh man.
I was the grip. I was the best boy. I was the worst boy.
Yeah, there you go.
Here's the best
Runner, driver.
Best
Any-
of boys, the
do you have
worst
any
of boys.
like particular favorite scenes that you watch now and go like, oh man, I love
Yeah,
filming
and
that.
I'm not in it because that's what I love about this one scene. I'm not in it because I'm in almost every scene
Yeah.
of the movie. It's the scene in the kitchen with Nikki and Ryan.
Oh yeah.
I think that sort of like it's the first sort of also semi-serious bit of the movie, and
Got some weight to it for sure.
yeah, and
Yeah.
it definitely rings true. I think they were really good, and we rehearsed a lot too because I told them we're not going to have time to discover.
Right. We gotta do it now.
Right, yeah.
Pre-discover.
Yeah.
you
we-
need to have been discovered.
Yeah, I rehearsed the hell out of this movie.
Smart.
Yeah, Margot didn't want to rehearse that much because she wanted to keep it fresh, but I wanted to make sure she knew her lines, so we did a lot of speed through
Yeah.
line reads with her.
I can see how that could help with her character a little bit.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
making sure everything's locked down.
Yeah.
Do you have
Just
any?
enough time.
So we're gonna go to the IMDb and we're gonna scroll down. We're gonna
Oh,
go
yeah,
to the we're gonna
fun.
go to the fun facts.
I love it. Yeah,
Do
because you
you-
mentioned Zatch Bell in the early thing. I'm like, no one mentions Zatch Bell early when
I
they're talking
mentioned
about
Zatch Bell because I watched
You
that
didn't even
show.
mention Trigun.
No,
which the whole
there's a
movie-
whole list.
Yeah.
The
There were
whole
a whole
movie
list.
really,
Which was
you know,
my jam.
focus.
Yeah.
No big deal.
The movie focuses on my career, which mostly is Trigun
There's some
in
pretty
terms of
sweet nods.
yes, as voice acting.
Yeah.
Voice acting, I'm famous for 2 roles: Wolfwood, which sounds just like me, and Tentamon from Digimon. Super
Nice.
Shocker.
Yes.
Tom is so happy.
It's funny now that whenever I hear your voice and it's like
Yeah.
in Digimon and it's you.
Yeah.
It's not Tentamon. I was like, that's him. I was like, okay, he's playing all these random characters too. I was like, okay, that's cool. So I was like, oh man. Now I can never forget it. And I'm just like, oh, it's Wolfwood.
What are some other fun facts? So I mean, I know one where if you look closely in the background, you've got the makeup girl who's kind of kind of guarding the scene.
Right. I love the scene where Nikki and I are in the ordering from the waitress, and in the background, these 2 extras are just staring at us, which would absolutely happen if I was at a convention having breakfast in the main sort of
Yeah.
area. Fans would be staring at me, waiting for an opportunity to get my autograph.
Pounce.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's
The-
another one
That'd
where
be me.
there's a, you guys are doing some fun. I won't spoil anything. Some funny things on the screen here, but there's one girl in the background just cracking up, and it kills me.
Yeah.
2 different
Oh, the
cuts.
extras.
Yeah,
Yeah,
extras just
I love the
Which
extras.
again, I told them, I said, if something makes you laugh, laugh. Don't worry about it.
Loved
you
it.
know?
Yeah, very genuine little moment.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah. Sam, the editor, was incredibly
Yeah, Sam
he
Mahler,
was
who
a
I've known for a long time, one of my closest friends.
surgeon
Yeah.
on some things of like editing things out and changing. Like you were talking about the reflection, like there was one that had to be fixed.
Yeah, there was a few things that he fixed that were really just incredible. One was the waitress's, her reflection was in a window, and he just took it out. He replaced it with a different window pane reflection, and the boom operator was in a mirror in one shot, and he just took it out.
Yeah.
Wow.
He changed some signs, a clock.
Oh yeah,
like,
there's a sign that was at L.A. Anime L.A. where it said "cosplay does not mean consent,"
yeah.
and then it says Anime L.A. and he changed it to GeekCon.
Yeah.
Wow.
Nice.
Oh, yeah. That's
Yeah, he's
interesting.
It was pretty incredible. the things that
Precision.
he needed to
And he
do.
did all the there's some animation, not a lot of animation, but a couple of transitions that he did, and the credits.
Oh yeah,
That's all animated. He did
The
that.
opening.
Yeah, he did all of that.
Yeah,
it's pretty great.
Yeah, pretty
good
cool.
stuff.
Okay.
All right, IMDb.
Yeah,
It's on there.
Let me see. Go down.
I don't got it. I don't
Oh, who's got it?
Oh no, I
got
was saying I was gonna have you give us fun facts.
Oh,
Like hey,
About the
like,
movie.
about the movie, like
oh, I thought you meant.
Oh, you're talking
Oh,
about
the-
IMDb trivia, like the
page.
trivia section.
yeah,
on
the
IMDb.
trivia, like fun
Oh, I
facts.
thought you
like,
meant my
I thought you
IMDb
might
page.
give.
I got you.
give
Well, the
us
flood.
some-
The flood's probably the biggest thing. Another thing that happened. We cut it out, but there was this. My Scorsese tracking shot. We had this whole thing where I go it's a long shot, and I go through the back of the hotel, and the guy who played he's in an Arrow cosplay
Yeah.
Yeah.
at the beginning, and while the camera's following us, he runs across and he changes into his Aquaman cosplay, and he's got 2 people in one scene, but we cut it
Yeah.
because in
Oh.
the end, I was like, this is my my big artistic shot.
Like Christopher Nolan.
Yeah, right. And Brian Donovan, who has
I'm
done
not
some
sure.
editing himself, he's like, yeah, cut that. It's not that great.
And you were like, yeah, okay, man, I'll cut it.
And, we did have to, I did want it to be as close to 90 minutes as possible. And in the end, I was like, it's a fun shot for me, but it didn't add anything to the story. It wasn't as interesting as the Scorsese Coppola shot in Goodfellas that I was
Yeah.
trying to pay homage to. But that's the thing I figured this might be my only movie ever. So I want to put a lot of little tips of the cap to influencers of mine over the years. So there's a little there's a Woody Allen joke I just stole to put, give Woody Allen
There you go.
I have a couple of Seinfeld references that,
All the bloody room. That's Tarantino. No, just kidding.
Jonathan plays a few roles, which is a little tribute to Mel Brooks, including the Harpo Marx type of character,
Yeah.
which is a tribute to the Marx Brothers for me. So I just threw a little just tip of the cap to everyone that
Sprinkled it
that
in.
I could. Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of Easter eggs in there.
Is there like, you're talking about a lot of homage to a lot of films that you watched and
Yeah.
you cared about. When you were writing this film and then shooting it and then, through the editing, overseeing it, was there like an aim towards a film that you're like, I really wanted to kind of feel like this?
Yeah, I wanted it to feel a little like a Jason Reitman film, like Up in the Air or Juno.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like it's a comedy, but it's not like slapstick. It's a romantic comedy. It's based in realism. It's grounded.
But there's, I was gonna say
a lot
there's
of
there's some
situational
real
comedy.
messages there,
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
and it deals with some real consequences.
Yeah. Exactly.
100%.
Yeah.
So with the paying homage, you're also paying homage to conventions, convention goings,
Yeah,
being
the
an
fans.
anime celeb. So what were some of the key points that you were like, I have to have this in there because this is part of the convention experience?
Yeah. Well, I had to have a scene with an autograph line, right?
yes.
So I wrote that in. I had to have the opening ceremonies, which is always a thing. A voice actor panel is always a thing. And just walking through the halls and getting accosted, is a thing as well. The game room was a big thing, where we're doing Dance Dance Revolution and all
Of
that
course.
stuff.
It's one of my favorite.
Yeah.
Zombie
parts, to be
attack or
honest.
whatever that's called. Waiting for the elevator is usually a big thing at conventions. And
Someone
I did have a scene originally where I'm running away from the crazy fan and
Oh no.
I come to a whole group of people, but it just, when I got there, I only had so much time to shoot whatever. And once the fans got there on Friday, it was just incredibly hard to wrangle all of that.
I bet.
That much.
So I just figured, let me just shoot as much as this smartly as I can. That doesn't require won't require the fans.
Yeah.
Things like
Well, I
that.
think one thing that was really quite, after seeing it a few times, what's amazing is that you didn't use lights. You used
We
the
had no
natural.
lights. Yeah, we used the natural
Alejandro
light, yeah.
Inarritu.
And I specifically picked two cameras, the Canon. No, I'm sorry, the Sony A7S II, which shoots well in low light.
Nice.
So I knew I was going to use those cameras because I had very little lighting,
Yeah.
if any.
Yeah.
Most of the time I had none.
Yeah.
Every now and then the pool scene I had a little time, so
Yeah.
we threw just a little.
because you were running and gunning the entire time.
running
Yeah.
and gunning.
Yeah, you're trying to do a heist pretty
Yeah.
much.
yeah.
A movie heist.
Yeah,
You can't mess
and-
around with lights.
Yeah.
Like,
Right.
seriously.
But also, again, it's there's this thing in production. You've got three things: fast, cheap, and good. You can only have two of the three.
Triangle. I call it the triangle.
Right. So in this movie, even though we went fast,
Good.
I took a year to plan that fast.
Yeah.
so
Not
that the
cheap.
fast would go. We did not go, what do we do now? We had a schedule that every second we knew where we were, what we were doing, what scene, what props,
How long it's gonna
what
take.
costume you're supposed to be in, who's supposed to be there, so all of that. So I got around that. It was like the Kobayashi Maru a little bit. I got around it. I got around it by taking that slow time and doing it by myself alone in my apartment, getting everything ready so that when we had to go fast, we were completely prepared. So we managed to get those three really for those 6 days.
Nice.
Wow.
That's
Worked
awesome.
enough planning.
There
Yeah.
you
It's
go.
like Batman.
Yeah,
Enough prep time, you can do anything. You beat Superman.
right.
You guys good? Shall we move on to
Yeah, we can move on.
Jeff?
Yeah.
Some
What?
current projects.
current
Maybe there's a new
projects.
show that.
Well, Famish is everything for me right
Yes.
now. Famish.
Well, I mean, yeah. What is the next?
Next for Famish is we're entering into film festivals, but I'm not going to like every film festival in the world. I'm just entering it into the major, like 6-7 major film festivals, all where distributors come, all require world premieres. So I cannot share it with anyone right now publicly. But the second I know I'm not getting into all of them or have already gotten into one of them,
Yeah.
it only takes one.
Yeah.
There you go.
First one that says yes, I'm in.
Yeah.
Once that happens, I'm hitting the road immediately to anime conventions to show it, and and they all need programming.
Yeah.
So I think this will be quite the popular hit
Yeah.
at
I
anime
think so.
conventions.
Well, you know to let us know. 'Cause
Yeah,
we'll
and
be there.
I'm almost positive. Starting in 2020, we're going on tour. I'm almost positive. I talked to my buddy Aaron, who works at in Atlanta. I'm pretty sure we're going to be at MomoCon Memorial Day in Atlanta, 2020, and Dragon Con Labor Day in
Okay.
Atlanta. I'm almost positive those things are
Dang.
going to happen.
Nice.
Keep an eye on that, everyone listening.
You heard it here.
Yeah.
And it'll be for sale both on Vimeo, and I'll have a DVD or
Nice.
Blu-ray as well.
That's
Once we go on tour, we'll sell the merch and things like that.
Yeah.
Posters, things like that.
We'll
We'll
have
share
one.
the
we'll have one
trailer
soon.
on our social media, which will be fun.
Oh yeah,
The trailer,
please.
which I cut and mixed as
That's
well.
right.
Yeah.
Which I love.
No big deal.
NBD.
I love that trailer. And in terms of other projects, I just finished Ultraman, which is on Netflix.
Yeah.
I'm not pointing at your boobs. I'm pointing at your shirt.
It's my shirt. It says Netflix on my boobs. It's fair.
Otherwise, I'd use two fingers. So it's on Netflix now. I directed that. I got to direct Josh Hutcherson from Hunger
Cool.
Games,
Yeah.
which is cool.
Nice.
Whoa.
Gunnar Sizemore, Steve Bloom, Fred Tatasciore, my buddy Brian Palermo. A lot of people are in it. It's a fun little series, which is a long franchise. It's been, the franchise is as old as I am. So when I was a kid, it was on TV. So in live action with a guy in a Godzilla suit.
Yeah.
Fighting.
Ultraman
Anyway,
don't play.
it's a really good anime. It's an anime version of this, and I think it's pretty. It looks pretty good. It's like motion capture animation. It's pretty.
Yeah,
doesn't
it's
look
very
like your
interesting.
typical anime.
It has like the
Yeah.
same art style of like Knights of Sidonia for anyone at home
Oh, yeah.
listening to it,
Yeah.
or like the Godzilla films on Netflix.
Yeah,
I kind of want to get your thoughts because like you were saying that the original was playing when you were a child,
yeah,
and it was much more the kaiju genre where it's like giant things
Right.
and monsters and aliens. Where this anime pays a lot of homage to the prior, especially since I'm not going to spoil it, but it talks a lot about the past shows and stuff like that, past iterations. But it also has we're in this Marvel infested world.
Right.
It has a superhero
Right.
vibe to it instead of like a protector of Tokyo. It's a
Yeah.
protector of the world.
yeah.
So
it's almost as if it's a mashup of the Tobey Maguire
Spider-Man,
Spider-Man
yeah.
and Iron Man.
especially with the jump.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Interesting.
And the choice between the girl and the bus.
Yeah. And then that there's not I can't,
Yeah.
don't want to spoil for
But
everyone
it's a
at home,
good series, so I recommend it. It's only 13 episodes.
and it's only
Wow.
season 1.
Only season 1. I'm hoping there'll be a
was-
second
For now.
season.
Very upset.
You never know though that if there'll be a second season, if I'll be involved in the second season. You never know. It's stuff like that.
Right.
There's a lot of things involved. But I was very happy to get the call to direct that. That was
Yeah.
nice.
Well, I mean, how was that experience? Kind of like going back, going into anime. It was like, well, now we're working with Netflix in a world where Netflix animes are a thing.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of cool that they got such a historic franchise and they chose me, which is nice because I'm sort of known for that now after all these years. Digimon, Naruto's the original director of Naruto, Bleach. It was the first one offered Bleach to direct. I didn't take it right away, but I did direct some Bleach. So I'm sort of that guy when you've got an iconic series, get Nimoy. Yeah. So I'm glad.
Nice.
I'm glad after all these years they're still calling me for that stuff.
You could say you're like the
George Lucas?
like the Spielberg.
The Spielberg of anime, which I put in the movie. It's a little running theme.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I think it's true to my book.
Yeah.
Thank
I'd
you.
agree. I'd agree.
Are there any other projects that are kind of in the purview, or is this you can't talk about that?
No, I really have nothing. There's a video game coming up for a very famous franchise I'm associated with, but I can't really say. But there's talk of me directing that.
Ooh.
And of course, I would play one of my iconic roles in it if
Nice.
it happened. That's all I'm going to say.
Interesting.
We'll leave it there. We'll leave it there. But mostly
yeah.
Famish is,
But other than that, it's all Famish all the time.
which it should be. I mean, like you did a great job with this. Man.
Thanks,
I enjoyed
Looks
myself
fantastic.
thoroughly from start to finish.
Thanks.
Yeah, and especially someone who not to get all mushy gushy.
Yeah.
But
Do
Tom
it.
and I run a production company where we do a web series all out of pocket. And we're doing the same thing where we're scrambling. Tom's the guy when we have security guards come over, he goes, let me do all the talking. You put the camera away. He deals with it. So this was, for me, this was especially inspiring to watch. And I just want to thank you for making it, man.
Yeah.
Which Tom mentioned to me after watching the movie. You're welcome. And I think you don't have to be an anime fan to enjoy this movie. You don't have to be a Jeff Nimoy fan to enjoy this movie. Although it's going to help because I'm in this movie.
It did help.
I mean, I'm a Jeff Nimoy fan.
I am both
so-
anime and Jeff Nimoy.
fan and friend.
But I think just if you like romantic comedies, I think you'll dig this movie.
Yeah.
This
It's a
was
straight
the
up romantic comedy.
second time
Exactly.
I've seen it now.
That's right.
Because I got to go to the screening, and
Must be nice.
it was nice. Thank you.
You were there too,
I
Tom.
know, but you gotta say it for those who didn't.
Yeah.
For the listeners at home, they're like,
Oh, must be nice.
It was
gotta
nice.
wait
It was,
for
it was
three.
very nice. Thank you. But all of the emotional aspects struck just as true the second time around as they did the first,
Thanks.
which I feel like is hard because a lot of time when I watch romantic comedies, I'm kind of like, oh, here we are again. But
Yeah.
this time, I felt everything just as fresh. The
Warm
wounds
heart.
were just as fresh
Yeah.
this time around.
when you're working in post and production, you probably know this more than anybody and how many times you've seen it. I mean, when I was mixing it, I probably watched it a good 8-9 times
Yeah.
all the way through. And it is one of those movies that I'm not pulling your chain. Like, I love every time I've seen it.
Well, thanks.
And
We were watching this, and I even heard you laughing in the back. I'm like,
Yeah.
he's still laughing. He's
There
heard
you
that
go.
joke so many times. He's still laughing.
He mixed that joke. But
And
yeah, it's great. Oh, go
And
ahead.
I was laughing
Yeah.
at some things. Some things always make me laugh. Always.
Yeah.
The little emojis on the text.
Yeah.
Well, also when you look at
Yeah.
I can't explain too much, but I mean, I don't want to take away from like it's a romantic comedy, but like there is aspects in it for me as someone who's moved down here to LA, to work in the industry as well, and I've had a couple experiences where I've gone to screenings with the director or the cinematographer or the producer, and I've had very resonating moments where it's like I see those decisions that were made as a director, or as a creative, as an individual, trying to put their heart and soul into their project, and be very fearless with it. And it's earth shattering. It's earth shaking in some of your bones of like, it feels so good, and it's also so like relieving of like all the tension that you have to yourself. So I mean, to yourself, like you don't have to be a Jeff Nimoy fan, you don't have to be an anime fan, but if you're a fan of going out there and trying to do what you love and get it out there to as many people's hands or eyes or ears, this film will resonate with you. And I like I said, I emailed you. Everyone at home, everyone in this room know. I emailed him separately. I was just like, I cried, and then I stopped crying, then I cried some more, and then I just wanted to hug you, hold you. It's so good, and I was, you can ask Corey's wife. I was talking about this movie for hours.
That's
Yeah.
great.
And I was just like, I can't believe that this film is here being homegrown made.
Yeah.
And then, sorry, Hollywood, bullshit's being made
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
has zero heart and zero like
Well, it's
risk.
cool
For
'cause
$25 million.
Yeah, it's
Are you shitting my nuts?
it's cool because it's a really honest film, and it tackles a lot
Yeah.
of it's like it's got a lot of heart, a lot of comedy. It tackles some serious stuff as well in the midst of it all,
It's
but
human.
very tactfully, like very well. Like it doesn't feel like now we're gonna deal with this thing because we want to be edgy. Like it's very natural. It flows all very well, and I honestly
the
didn't. It
comedy
didn't
is
feel
good.
like a 90. I could have gone for another half.
the repetitiveness
on,
of
yeah,
Thank
for
you.
sure.
Yeah.
It went.
the
it went
repetition
by.
of some of the jokes were really great, and I was just
Oh,
like,
yeah.
They were perfect.
yes,
They were perfect.
and like,
Oh shit, that's
Corey.
me.
Yeah, Corey, you picked up on that right
Oh,
away.
yeah.
like
Oh
I,
shoot.
I
Can love
like
that stuff.
the writing, obviously, like you've definitely written for years, than I've ever written. Like more than I hate to say, it's more than most of the time I've been conscious in the world. But I was just like, this, yeah, you know what? I get it because he's written for such a long time for ensemble cast, for everyone to have great individual personalities, and for them to coalesce in a way where like you get dynamic interactions between the two. It's like this is
It was cool to see for sure.
so
As someone
good.
like with Tom, I write comedy. That's like outside of Nerd On is what I do. I write the web series we're on. And it's nice to see a lot of like oh, I get that. I understand that. I get that. That's good writing. I get it. I'm getting it. Cool. But it was really nice to see.
Thanks very much.
Yeah.
I appreciate it.
Especially on the, like, they write comedy and whatnot, and they can appreciate all the jokes and the writing aspect. And I come from the con world.
Yeah.
That is where I live. I have been to many, 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 many of them. And you have captured the convention experience
Hand
perfectly.
sanitizer.
Perfectly.
The best $1.99 you'll ever invest in going to a convention.
So true.
Well, awesome.
And it's funny, like 10 years ago when I was invited to a convention in 1998 while I was doing Digimon. And they're like, you want to come down to this convention in San Diego and do this thing? I'm like, what? What is it? They're like, it's called Comic-Con.
Oh my
And
God.
I was like, who's going to be on the panel with me? And they're like, 4 losers. And I'm like, no, I am not going to do this. Forget it. I'm not doing it. And then like years later, people like go down to Comic-Con. I'm like, that thing's still going on, you know?
And you're like, yeah, it
Yeah,
is.
of course. Now I'm like going to kill somebody if I can get famous in there, you know?
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Before I think we wrap things up, I do have one question for our listeners who know you as a fan, Ultraman, everything. You, before our other episode, we didn't get a chance to talk about it, but you have a thing for comic books.
I have a thing for comic books. I'm also a Star Wars nerd.
Yeah.
I'm a original Star Trek series nerd. But Marvel Comics, I was a huge collector.
So Marvel
Nice.
Comics, and I'm going to let you have the liberty to choose whatever you'd like. I'll let you live in your own dreamscape. If there was a project that you could be attached to direct, produce, whatever it would
yeah.
be, who is the hero or what is the property? What's the franchise?
Oh, man. Well, I've always wanted to voice a superhero.
Okay.
But because my voice is this voice, I can't do Spider-Man, which was my favorite as a kid.
I mean,
You know,
we've seen iterations where he's a little older and, it's different. You could be from an
it's
Elseworld.
possible. In the new Spider-Verse, maybe I could be a little, but it wouldn't be Spider-Man. It wouldn't be the Spider-Man.
Yeah.
It'd be
You know
Peter
what I mean?
Parker after
Nick-
he
you
got
talking like Nick
married with
Miller and
MJ.
I think I would be more like a good sort of anti-hero, like a Wolfwood type. I
Yeah.
think Wolfwood was really good casting. He's a hero, but at the same time, he's not necessarily all good.
Mhm.
So I don't know. I always thought I'd be a good Doctor Strange.
I was going to say, Doctor Strange.
There you go.
I thought maybe I'd be a good Wolverine,
I
but
was going to say,
my
Wolverine,
buddy
Wolverine
Steve,
has got the smoke.
my buddy Steve Bloom took that job.
Yeah.
Steve Bloom. Yep. That makes sense.
Yeah.
But Daredevil, I'd love to play Daredevil.
Yeah.
I haven't really. I mean, Daredevil on Netflix. The first season I liked. Second season I didn't really like. But I was a big Daredevil fan as a kid.
Frank Miller run?
No, the original Marvel
original,
comics.
okay.
This is all like 1970, between 76 and 80. Those are my years I collected.
Got it.
And I was a huge Fantastic Four fan. I would love to play,
Yeah.
maybe with this voice I could play maybe the Human Torch. I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe.
I could
No,
see
I
that.
mean, yeah, I could see that.
100%.
Smokiness for Human
Yeah.
Torch.
What about
But I mean, your voice
Funny.
has a liveliness to it, so it's
Yeah.
like I
Yeah.
could see that Johnny Storm having some banter
Yeah.
with.
What
the
about
thing.
from like a directing standpoint? If like Marvel came to you, it was like you get to pick one hero. Which story do you want to tell?
Well, again, like I wouldn't mind doing Daredevil the way I wanted to do Daredevil, because I'm not thrilled with the way they've done Daredevil, but I don't know. That's a tough question.
Yeah.
Because Netflix now,
We asked the
like
hard-hitting
they're
questions
coming with Castlevania. Ollie Shane Carr was talking about like doing like Zelda possibly, but Netflix is showing up with like there's a lot of space for anime on demand, but then
Yeah.
like Marvel I think is starting to go into like because there was a run where they had a lot of like Iron Man, Wolverine as anime, so it's like the wheelhouse, and
Yeah,
putting it out in the world.
It's tough to say because I'm a huge Avengers fan. I was an Avengers comic book fan, and I'm a big fan of the Marvel Universe movies, the way they've strung them all together.
Yeah.
I'm probably going to go see Endgame tomorrow.
So I was we're gonna tell you right now. Okay, no.
But, I'd say like an anime version of the Avengers
That would be cool.
would be pretty damn good.
That'd be
to
fun.
do. But I would love to. But with all the Marvel stuff, I'd still rather work on Star Wars.
Yeah.
Okay.
I was interviewed once to direct a series
Oh.
for Star Wars, it was the one that
Oh no.
the guys from
Gargoyles?
Huh?
Gargoyles?
No. I think it was called Heroes of the Galaxy or something. I can't remember now, but it was the same. It was the one that those guys, Robot Chicken, did.
Oh.
But it wasn't. They were the executive producers.
Okay.
Yeah.
And they interviewed me, the Robot
Wow.
Chicken guys,
Oh wow.
with Lucasfilm representatives in the room. And they were talking about it, and they wanted to do a straight Star Wars thing, not a funny parody, but a straight up Star Wars based on this toy line, right, that they were doing. Not Guardians of the Galaxy, obviously, but something like that. Heroes of the Galaxy. Anyway, and they asked me, the Lucas woman asked me at the end, I really thought I had that job. I walked out of there thinking I'm moving up to San Francisco. But she said, this job would take a year to do. Would you be willing to move up to Lucas Ranch for a year to direct this? I'd say, I'd be willing to move up there to be the janitor. Are you kidding me?
For a tour.
And they said you'd only be answering to George Lucas. And I'm like,
Oh,
dang it.
no. How terrible.
like, I've got to have this job. I said, even if you don't want me as the director,
I'll hang out.
consider me as a writer.
Yeah.
I want to be involved in Star Wars in any way possible. Anyway, I didn't get it. They recorded probably 70 of these shows, and then Disney bought Lucas and scrapped the whole thing.
Because everything's
wow.
It'll never air
Yeah.
because it's a separate
It's not part-
franchise.
it's
It's
also-
not
it's
part of
legend.
it.
And Disney came out with a game for mobile. It's called Galaxy of Heroes.
That's what it is.
They
Galaxy of
changed it into a
Heroes.
game.
Is that the way
Right.
you play?
Yeah, it's the one I play.
And they scrapped it, so I never would have gotten it on the air anyway.
Wow.
Right.
Wow.
Still,
So
Yeah, right.
Because
Playing
I'm
with
with
that.
Lucas for a while.
what would be your show? What would the story be, and what would the art style look like?
oh, that's too hard a question
Yeah.
here to ask.
It's a lot, man.
Things. That's a lot.
Give
Yeah.
me all the answers
just like,
right now.
I will tell you this. I was interviewed to be the showrunner on She-Ra, which is now on
the-
Netflix.
Yeah.
Or
Princess Shira, yeah.
right. They went with an all-women crew and showrunner, so I can't really
Makes sense.
say whatever. But I had a pretty good concept there, I thought, where, I saw this documentary once called What Happens If We're Gone? Like when humans are gone from the planet,
Yeah.
shows what happens to the planet. Like in 30 years, 50 years, the Empire State Building's covered in like leaves and vines, and they look like the skyscrapers in Manhattan will all look like a mountain range because it'll all be, foliage will grow over it. And I thought this would be a good sort of way in the future for She-Ra.
Oh, cool.
Where inside a mountain could be like,
A building.
a building, a nuclear reactor, anything.
It's that lived-in world. Feel.
Mhm.
Right. Yeah, exactly. So it had that old sort of like frontier world, but also high old technology hidden within it, And I haven't seen She-Ra, so I don't know if they took that, but
No,
I doubt they did.
Yes and no. Not quite.
say no.
Yeah.
Not quite
Yeah,
to the
probably
depths
no.
that
Okay,
you
I'd
were
say no.
talking.
Then no.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool.
Everybody at home, if you'd like to go a little bit deeper into Jeff Nimoy's mind, you can check out our previous episode 7, our first guest.
Ooh, you made
Ever.
it. You made it in the first 10, man.
Yeah.
Right on,
First
man.
10.
Crazy.
Before there were
I'm
even
honored.
more hosts.
Yeah,
Yeah.
before there was a Caitlin.
Like me.
It's BC.
Yeah.
Before Caitlin.
Yeah,
Yeah.
BC.
DC.
They're
I'm
all
honored.
busy.
But yeah, we go further into your anime career on that episode.
Yeah.
And it's not like you won't be back.
Yeah.
You could just watch Famish and you'll see my anime career right
There you
there.
go.
That's right there. Yeah, and to keep up with Famish, if I can plug, there's
course.
the Famish Facebook page will be there. Famish/movie.com, I think, is the website. It's not done by any means. It's not close to being done, but that will be done at some point. But you can see where I'll be in terms of anime conventions and film festivals
Follow the film.
on the Facebook page,
Right.
the famous Facebook page, and for other the same convention news will be at the Jeff Nimoy anime page on Facebook as well, and Twitter at Jeff Nimoy,
There you go. That's
and Instagram as well at Jeff Nimoy.
Let's follow
Nice.
Jeff.
Nice. Everybody at home, thank you so much for listening. thank you, Jeff, for being on the show
Thanks,
again.
Josh.
Yeah, thank you, man.
Thanks for spending the time to go deeper into Famish. I'm really excited for everybody at home to be able to see
that movie
it.
was a blast, man.
Thanks, man.
It was really good.
I really appreciate it.
If you are new to Nerd On, you can check out nerdon.tv. It has all the linky links, articles, newsletter. You can sign up for
There's pictures of us.
pictures of us,
On Instagram.
other
are.
episodes. But yeah, we have another podcast. Trope Time is once a month, the first Monday of every month, hosted by our friends Nikki and Izzy.
We have another show.
Yeah, we have another show.
Yeah,
We do.
We do?
We do.
Questions?
Oh, yes. Sorry, my brain
Yeah.
went. We do have another show, the Nerd On Update. If you would like to submit questions for that show, send them over to questions@nerdon.tv.
We're gonna answer them.
No one sent me a question?
Oh, no, that's
Well, they
that
did.
show
They
is-
said, "Do you want to join Nerd On as a co-host?"
Yeah.
And also, what is your art style for the Star Wars?
I said, what do we have to do to get Jeff Nimoy to replace Corey?
Oh, poor buddy.
We'll see.
Well, on that, as always, Nerd On.
Ending broadcast.